All right, I'll call the meeting to order tonight, Tuesday, October 10th. Start with the pledge. Any alterations to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one. We have from the tax assessor, we have a request for abatement for a property at map 32 lot 14C-03 Scouts Way.
Anything else? Approve as amended. Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Velma. All those in favor? All right, now's the time for the public. Can speak on any non-agenda items. Seeing none. Anything from the board? No. Minutes, September 25th.
That's correct. I corrected that already. Velma had pointed it out to me when I sent the packets out.
On the motion that I made, stand by. Bid it was over 25, but we find that we fulfilled that process essentially by security board estimates.
Okay. I'll put some language together, maybe send it over. So,
I'll email you, but
okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
All right, motion by Velma to approve. Second by Phil. All those in favor? Future amended. Any committee and board reports tonight? Nothing, right? No. Mr. Manager.
Just a few things. First, just to let you know that we've paid off the engine 44 for the fire department. We've submitted our paperwork for the title to be submitted to us, so we're just waiting for that to come back. The reason I bring it up though is that as you well know, the fire department has put together a truck committee for future purchases of engines, and part of that process will be to retire two of the engines that we have, two of the vehicles we have now, the tanker and our backup engine. So, and they would make one purchase of a vehicle. So they're in the process now of, they've had one demo on site. They've got a couple more companies as supposed to bring up some demos for them to look at. And they're working diligently to put together a package to at some point in the future here, after the process unfolds, to present something for you folks and the budget board to consider. I think it's sort of going to be a little bit like perhaps what happened with the ambulance. We're looking at 2 to 4 years before any truck would be built. I think we may be seeking board approval to maybe lock into a, not guaranteed lock in, but lock into a price. Looking forward to voter approval in the future, because they feel it's going to be anywhere between 5 and 10% increase as this truck gets built. Right now, the estimates for a new engine are anywhere between 980,000 to 1.1 million. So just some food for thought as we go through that process. Interesting because the engine 44 we just paid off, I think, was 600,000. So That's the difference of what's happening in the industry right now.
Is there any, we've talked about possibly doing something over at the station once we get everything all squared away with the TIF. Is there any reason why we wouldn't want to hold on to one of those?
I don't think so. I think what's happening now, Dan, is that the age, those pieces of equipment are aging out. They're going to be well over 30 years old. And it's time to really think about, letting that equipment go. And I think the food for thought, is that we can combine a tanker and an engine into one unit, as opposed to having two separate units, which would, I think, continue to have your cost even higher than it is now. You're probably looking at a couple $1 million as opposed to 1 million. So I think that's the thought process. And I'm sure that the chief will bring some more detailed information forward when the opportunity presents itself. The next thing I had obviously is I just wanted to give you just a quick update as to what's transpiring on 159 Proctor Road. As you recall, it was a piece of property that we had taken some action on as a dangerous building statute with the previous owner. Prior to us exercising our court order to raise the building, the property owner sold the property to I guess a company that flips buildings. They'll buy them at very low cost and then begin the process of rehab and hopefully turn that over so they can make a few dollars. So in this case, I think that the new owners have sort of bit off more than they can chew. We've discovered that, there were 12 barrels of hazardous material that was located on the property that DEP now has identified, and it's up to the new owner to remove that stuff and have a report to the DEP upon its removal. Over 5 loads of roll-off containers have been on site and removed material from there. We right now only have a demo and a septic permit that's been issued to that property. The demo is ongoing. The septic, I think they're putting the cart before the horse. They put the septic system in, and then the code officer really had to work through that process with them to make sure that they were doing it correctly and that the old tank either removed from the ground or filled in with pump records. So they have decided to fill it, but we're waiting for the pump records to come in. So, and then finally, there's a belief through the code officer that that he's waiting for an engineering report to let the new owners understand exactly what they have to do in terms of upgrading that property to meet today's building standards. There seems to be some discussion there as to what they can and cannot do, or what they think they can do. So it's an ongoing issue. It continues to be one. I know he visits there daily just to observe what's going on. And I'll keep a close eye on it as we move through this process. So I'll probably have to report out a couple more times to you as to what's going on down there.
What a mess. You didn't do the speed local roads thing.
And just to let you know that we're the attorney assisting us in our TIF amendment package with the Department of Economic Community Development was contacted by DECD as to additional information that they needed in order to make the final determinations. Part of the information they needed was excuse me just for a moment. Make sure I get this correctly, was a captured assessed value analysis from, we had to report on 3 years from 16, 17, and 18. DECD had 16 and 17. They did not have 18. So we were able to find that today in the planner's office. So that will be going out as part of the process. And then we also provide to them information on all the additional value, as we discussed before the meeting tonight. The way the TIF is set up, there was a value on the overall property when it was first purchased. That's removed, and that continues to be tax dollars that come into to the town. And then the second piece of that is that the new value gets 25% of that new value comes to the tax rolls, and then the remaining gets split. I think it's 67-33 between the town and the developer. And to date, I looked at the records today. We have provided back to the developer as part of his building out that project $1.6 million in tax revenue that's gone back to him to that project. And as you know, I think we're well over $500,000 in our tax rolls now, and that will continue to move forward as we move through it. So I guess we're getting close to having the amendment approved. I think there's just a few other pieces of paper they need in order to make that final approval. The attorney did not feel that there was going to be any denial in terms of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, question, go ahead. Yeah, could you just come up to the microphone, please? Yep. Make sure that light's on,
You
George.
hit the.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. George Dristolaris, 96 Patriot Way in the Cottages. Question for you on the TIF amendment. I was just wondering how that was, how was that done? Did there have to be a sign off by the town and the developer or the HOA? And I know it got accepted at town meeting, but any amendment is an amendment to a contract. And I think, to my knowledge, a contract law would have to be signed.
The amendment is proposed by the Board of Selectmen and the committee that we developed in order to make some changes in it. That information is then presented to the town meeting, who have ultimate authority about changing where the purpose of the TIF money goes to. So it has really nothing to do with the developer or the folks that live there. It's the money that's coming to the
No, I
town,
understand that, but
and it's
it's
used.
an amendment to a contract. And I think that, it just, my background, any amendments to contracts have to be signed by both parties. But if that's a different system we have for the amendment on the financing, and that's a total town meeting decision,
That's correct.
okay. And well, that's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then the other thing that I provided to you was just some general information about an upcoming, the planning board will be having an upcoming meeting for preliminary plan review, the application for the Clearwater Estate subdivision amendment. So I've provided that information to you. And the reason I did that is that I wanted you to be aware that, number one, it was coming, and that that I've spoken both to the planner as well as the planning board chairman about the importance of minimizing any public debate during this preliminary plan application. This is specifically between the developer and the planning board to go over the plan application and to decide what changes, if any, need to be made within that plan before it gets to final plan review, at which time prior to that, there would be a public hearing for the residents of the area to express their concerns based on whether or not the plan meets all the ordinance provisions that are required. So, and if memory serves me well, I think the last time that the plan was discussed, there was a pretty big effort that was done via social media that had a lot of folks upset that they thought that this plan was going to be moving forward without little or no discussion among the folks that live in the area. But that is not the case. And so we wanted to make sure that you knew that, that. And I think one of the things that we talked about tonight was to ensure that whatever technical information that we have with our Zoom feeds and things like that are available, so folks can at least see what's going on. And obviously our meetings are recorded, and the planning board meetings are recorded, and they'll be put online.
Just if I may, that last meeting was very cordial by everybody. And the planner, I mean, the chairman made it very clear, the process. And he did allow some public comment, and it was very low key, and it was, it wasn't a big uproar. I mean, there were concerns, but it was all very low key, and it was done very cordially, so.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. But that wasn't the even though I didn't attend, that wasn't the impression I got.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that, you folks were aware of it in the event that you want to, the event somebody reaches out to you, at least you have some information available.
Yep. Keith, you didn't talk about the local roads, the sheriff issue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I rode right over it, didn't I? I sped right through it. Only that I've been in contact with both of our sheriff's deputies as well as the chief deputy at the York County Sheriff's Office. They explained to me that they've had some dedicated patrols throughout the summer here, that they continue to monitor the speed on various roads within the community. And their feeling is that as a result of some of the road closures that we've had has had an effect on speed as people are looking for alternative sites to go to. Their radar that they've been running, there hasn't been a majority of folks over that 10-mile-an-hour speed. There's been some, but not a majority of the folks, is the way they express it to me. So, but I continue to indicate to them, as I told them I would, when I receive complaints, then I'm going to forward them to them so they understand that those complaints are still forthcoming.
Perfect, thank you. Moving on to business. Looks like you need a motion for some overdraft funds.
Yes, and just so you know, I mean, obviously I provided a memo to you to tell you that right now unaudited financials for the last fiscal year that we just expired was $255,277.23 remaining in those municipal operating budgets. The select board has been given the authority at annual town meetings over the past several years to be able to move up to 5% annually of those municipal operating budgets, not to exceed that amount, which would be $185,694.95. This year, our unaudited general assistance budget exceeds the approved amount of $95,279 by $7,126.21. So what I am requesting is that we move that the select board approve the removal of $7,200 from the town hall administration budget, which had an ending balance of $36,639.80 to cover that overdraft. And prior to you prior to you voting that, I just want to make a comment also that I believe that as, that we're going to see a pattern of additional, folks seeking our general assistance, help. And I think, that we're seeing an uptick, in those requests. So, we'll keep you apprised of that as we move through, and see, as this budget unfolds, if we're going to be up against it again, at the end of the fiscal year. So, something that we need to maybe think about, although we have the authority by state statute to overdraft that budget no matter what kind of measures are provided to you by town meeting authority. So here I'm just asking you to move $7,200 to cover that overdraft.
For a motion,
I'll make a motion. We move 7,200 from the town hall administration budget to the GA administrator's budget.
motion by Dan,
Okay.
second by Velma. All those in favor? Motion carries. We got payables tonight.
Well, I got one more,
Yep.
the request for an
Oh, yeah, yeah.
abatement.
Yep, sorry.
As the paperwork that you have in front of you is from the tax assessor. Evidently, there was a piece of property on Scouts Way that the interior or the square footage living area of it was not calculated correctly. Seeing that Jason did the development, he probably knows of the different buildings that were constructed in that development, and evidently, when it was taxed at a different square footage site. So once that was discovered, the request came into the assessor, and she's requesting that you consider the movement of the building value from 328,700 to 301,700, which makes the total valuation of 366,000 compared to 393,000 that was previously there. And that would be an abatement for 2023 of $456.30, and an abatement of 2022 for $456.30.
So is it a total of 900 some odd dollars?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay.
Like $912.60.
Yep.
Go with the assessor's request and abate those two amounts. The total amount of $912.60.
Second.
Motion by Velma, second by Dan. Any more discussion on this? All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, now we have a payable.
Yes, so moved.
Motion by Velma. Second by Tom. All those in favor?
Just as we are wrapping up, I just wanted to, I know that you received an email on this bridge construction on Days Mill, but I provided that information to you. If you have any concerns, you can, if you do have concerns, you can either directly reach out to MDOT through that email that you received, or just provide them to me and I'll make sure that they get correspondence to them appropriately.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn at
Motion by
7:25.
Dan to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
Richard Ryder, 22 Sunrise Lane. And I'll be conscious of the time. I'll try to get us out by 7:30. I have a little question about the TIF conversation we had a few moments ago. It was part of the offering presented to all home buyers at Cape Arundel. And it was part of the contract when we purchased, so that there should be about 260 people who have signed that document with a comment about the TIF that indicates it was a 50-50 split back to the developer for improvements in infrastructure. And because the developer is about to leave the project he's completing, whoever the developer actually is, will be completing the project. There's going to be some infrastructure work that needs to be done. So I just want to point out that those funds are critical to us getting a second coating on the roads and any other infrastructure repair before they disappear or are assumed not needed or not necessary. They just might be.
It's not a 50-50 split as far as the TIF was designed for.
Okay.
The TIF will last until 2035, I think, of 34.
Okay.
So that money, that contribution that we send to the developer will continue until that time.
Okay.
If you want to really go through the numbers, I can sit down with you at some point this week or next week, and we can look at the ones that we have so you understand it. It becomes confusing to everybody.
Well,
So,
I
but-
appreciate that offer. I
Sure.
may take you up on that. Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, we have a motion by Dan to adjourn.
7:27 PM.
A second by Phil. All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
Turn your pen.
Geez, thank